Hey everyone, I'm Laura with Rain,
I'm Candy.
and we have your 2026 energies for the year. So, we are going to talk about the card of the year, which is the Cardology card, the astrology and numerology of the playing cards. And then we are going to find out from our higher selves what advice we need for 2026. Okay, so the card of the year, and this is mathematical, it's not just that we drew an oracle card, it is the Jack of Spades. And the Jack of Spades is like the spiritual initiation card. All the jacks in the deck are spiritual in some way. So blurry. And we have a little Buddha on our card. This is our oracle card deck. We have little chakras. We have some books to be studying. And there's some person coming through a portal back there. So jacks are always kind of spiritual in a sense, or they can be, people who are jacks. So when you get the Jack of Spades in a reading, it's almost like you're really grounding this spiritual energy down into your body and into the earth. And so if you don't really resonate with this word spiritual, um, I would say you can just consider it like the not material world. So our current model of science is built on materialism, meaning that the physical world is the first thing and then consciousness came after that. But if you are listening to the telepathy tapes like we are obsessively doing, they will explain really well that there's like a set of scientists trying to talk about like the new physics, which is actually maybe consciousness came first. So that's the idea, right? Consciousness, for some people, spirituality is religious in nature. For other people, they're just trying to tap into what's that unseen world that is out there that I can sense, maybe. That's what we teach here at Rain, Whisper Training. We're trying to train you how to tap into the energy of your intuition and your higher self because there's more to you than this physical body. So this card is so perfect for this year because when you have this Jack of Spades as like the 2026 universal energy, we have nicknamed the Jack of Spades. So when you get your birth card report from our website, you can look up your card. We call the Jack of Spades the enigmatic trendsetter. And actually, there aren't that many Jack of Spades people because there aren't that many birthdays, but Harry Styles is one of the Jack of Spades. You can kind of see how he's a trendsetter. He's kind of like mysterious. Um, the big theme here is that old systems are going to be cracking. Shocking, I am sure, for you to hear that. We are going to be looking for more meaning and more authenticity. And when we feel discomfort this year, we have to understand that it's information. It's showing us maybe something we need to get rid of. It's kind of like this, what it feels like to me is this rapid progression through getting really aligned with your authentic self, which you can find out more about that when you study your astrological chart or your cards. And we have a program starting January 13th for 7 days. It's called Claim Your Crown 2026, where we will help you with some of that, tapping into your whisper, getting what it means for your card in 2026. Like, if you're like the Two of Diamonds, what does that mean for you when it's the Jack of Spades? So the Jack of Spades can also be about like not just kind of tolerating what doesn't fit, but imagining what replaces it. So people who are jacks tend to be really creative. So this is asking all of us to kind of channel that as spiritual energy and get more creative. Um, as far as like the collective is concerned, there's going to be more truth coming to the surface, more institutions and systems under pressure. If you take into consideration all of the different numbers and face cards in the deck, the Jack is probably one of the most revolutionary. I would say it's like aligned with Uranus energy, which is aligned with Aquarian energy, which means massive changes and um, like forward thinking changes is how I'd want to say that. So the endings that happen this year are necessary because they're creating space for the new ways to come forward. These are not just new ways of working and living, but like how we create just about anything. I mean, kind of anything's on the docket here. This also is the Jack of Spades is also going to allow like intuition to blend with practicality. So using your intuition in your everyday life, helping you make decisions, which is something we also help people with whisper training on our website. How do you tap into your higher power, your higher self, your intuition, and use it to help you guide your life? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to have Candy go into what we call the bubble, and she's going to check in with her higher self and see, like, the higher self, the higher selves do, what our higher selves will do is kind of tap into the collective consciousness and find out what is it that we need to learn about or prepare for this year. So, what's the first thing that's coming forward, Candy?
Well, everything you said about the Jack was amazing. And what they focused on was they just kept flashing the word flirt, 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 and how we talk about the
That's so
Jack.
good. The Jack is like the prince.
Yeah. And how,
Yeah.
yeah, we talk about when people start new relationships, they'll often go into their Jack because, new relationship, it's flirty, it's fun, it's, creative and inventive, and you're learning new things about each other, and you're also sort of trying on masks. Like, do I want to be the serious dater? Do I want to be the sexy dater? Do I want to, like, what part of me wants to come forward to be in alignment with this person that I'm interacting with? And so that energy is there for us to tap into in 2026. The energy of, this is what's happening around me. How do I want to show up? How do I want to meet the moment? So we talked about in for January how there's just sort of this big shift that's going to happen, and that's true. That is happening, but at that upper echelon of that shift is where we're going to start to play, because there's a part of us that's going to be like, okay, so who am I now? And as things start to break down and crack and shift and open, there may be times when we want to be the nurturer or the builder or the revolutionary or the scientist or the inventor or the librarian. Like, there's just any sort of stereotypical or archetypal energy that you can think of is going to be available for us to, they just use the word suit up into, because we're not a fixed thing anymore. 2026, we're moving more into being energetic beings that are housed in a physical body. But that doesn't mean that we have to be so rigid in how we're showing up. They're reminding me of how, like, when I was in corporate America, my friends, the people that I worked with, who I also became friends with, nicknamed me Corporate Candy. That, like, they were so shocked that I was like a fun friend and playful and all of these other things, because at work I was like very serious and very driven and very focused. So they called that part of me Corporate Candy. So we all have this part that we've labeled ourselves, that we fit in this box around, and we've let that part often define the larger part, the whole part. And that is also what's breaking down. The way that we used to label ourselves is falling away, and as a result, we can literally be anything. So that's where the flirt comes in, is we get to flirt with how we want to show up in 2026. And it doesn't have to be the same day to day.
That's insane because all the cards kind of have different nicknames and things like that. And this is the actor card.
Oh, perfect. Right. Oh
And
my
it is so
God.
true. It's like, I was thinking about this the other day actually with the cards and how you have these fixed set of energies between you and another person. Well, between you and another card. So your card and someone else's card. And we have reports for these on our website. And the thing we always tell people is you can't change these energies. This is it. This is why some people, you meet them and you feel like you've known them forever ever, and other people you're like, that person drives me fucking crazy. But the person right next to you loves that person, isn't bothered by them at all. And it's because, I mean, these energies will explain it. So you're kind of going, just kind of think about how you interact with different groups of people, or how you interact at work or with your grandmother. I mean, like psychologists would call it code switching, right? You're kind of putting on a different version of yourself depending on who you're around to kind of match them at where they are. And so I'm kind of curious, what are they saying about that concept of code switching different than like what they're saying right now about 2026?
It's the concept is the same, but when you ask the question, they like took a deck of cards and they threw them up in the air.
Okay.
So how you used to interact with your grandmother, the code switching that you used to do from going to work to going to see grandma, you're not going to show up the same with grandma that you used to. So
Mm.
maybe maybe you used to fall back into the childlike energy where you were playful and you sort of acquiesce to the wisdom of grandma. You might be showing up as a peer to grandma. Your 80-year-old self might show up so that you can have the conversation with grandma more as a peer, and you can have that flirtatious exchange of information peer to peer. So your internal elder comes forward.
Mm.
And at work, if you used to be really serious and really driven, you might start calling in sick more often. You might prioritize vacationing. You might take that energy that you used to apply to work and apply it to this new hobby that you have because you're over work and you don't want to work for someone else anymore. So you're going to put that same spirited energy into starting something on your own. So like the code switching is still going to be a thing, but it's almost like it all gets reshuffled, and we're going to show up in different ways in different circumstances and situations. So we're going to be shocking ourselves to be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I just did that, or I just said that, or I." And it's not, none of it's going to be in a bad way.
Right.
It's
It's not like just to rebel or something like that, which
no,
is a thing.
yeah,
Well, it's also reminding me of, I know this is going to be shocking, but Emily in Paris, and they were like, do the opposite
yes,
of what you think you normally do. If it's black, do white. It
yeah,
is. That's exactly what it sounds like. It's like, oh, I'm showing up totally differently. And maybe talking about things you wouldn't normally breach a subject with, like
mm-hmm.
breach the subject with someone, or you might not normally bring these things up around someone. And now you're just like, fuck it. Let's talk about the Age of Disclosure movie where they're like, oh, yeah, aliens have been around for a long time.
Oh yeah, aliens. They're so excited that you brought up that as an example, because they're like, if you were someone who used to argue with your family because maybe you're on opposite sides of some spectrum, you know, like maybe it's political or maybe it's theological or whatever, you might be surprised to find out that you show up and you're like, I don't really care. You've got your thoughts, I have mine. Who wants more ham? You know, like,
Right.
and everybody's going to be like, wait, like, you don't want to fight about this? You're going to be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So, and none of this, you're not going to be thinking about any of this in advance. You're not going to be planning for it. Even if you try to do that, it's not going to work. It is going to be so spontaneous and so intuitive that your mind is going to be observing. It's not going to be leading.
Mm-hmm. So you might not really notice it even happened until after, and you reflect back and be like, oh, this is different.
Yeah, because ultimately, all of these characters are a part of you. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily going to feel foreign for you to step into that part of you. It might just be that you step into that part of you in a different situation than you normally would have.
Okay, so can I ask the higher selves, like, why this is happening? What is the point of this?
The first thing they said was, "Why not?" Um,
No, I mean, like, why now? Maybe it should be
yeah,
why now.
yeah. What this year? It's They're reminding me now of January. It really starts in January. So if you haven't watched that video, watch that video or
That'll
listen to
probably
that
come out
podcast.
after this one.
Okay, cool. So you'll want to definitely watch that one then next. The why is because if you're hearing this message, what you really are ready for is the realization that you are co-creating this existence. And you can do that by just going through the motions because you're still creating, or you can do it by opening the space for a more authentic version of you to show up and to potentially not follow the rules as they were defined for you. So this is opening the space for us to start defining our own rules, and Like if we told you that this is what's happening and then allowed you to consciously like be so aware of it that you were thinking about it, you wouldn't be able to get out of your own way. The energy for 2026 is almost like you're just going to constantly be being pushed. Your higher self is back there like pushing you a little bit so that the behavior feels impulsive, because that means that the energy can express itself before the mind can stop it.
Oh my God, I fucking love that.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I just got real nervous.
What makes, okay, wait, no, you asked me why that makes you nervous. I want to know.
Yes. I
Okay,
want to know, why does that make me nervous?
okay, gonna check it with my higher selves. He's gonna check it with Katie's higher selves. So this is a more of a personal question, which means we don't really need the collective, although I'm sure they will tap into that because that will help everyone. But okay. Why does this make Candy nervous? Um, okay, this is both for Candy and anyone that, well, it's like who likes to be in charge of themselves. They want to avoid the control word, but they're like, who likes to make sure that they're
Yeah.
like making sure that everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
We all are controlling in some way, please. This is the main thing we're trying to probably learn in this lifetime, but or a lot of us are trying to learn. So it's like anyone that kind of, it's the pre-planning, it's the pre-thinking things through, thinking through every scenario, making the to-do lists, like all of that is this, they're saying hyper masculine kind of logical mindset that is really needing to like, we're just turning the dial down on that. It needs to be cranked down. It doesn't need to be zero because we do need that sometimes. It helps, like, if I don't know, you're gonna bake a cake, you have to fucking think through the steps. You're gonna change in a recipe that I'm gonna use, like increasing it from a 9 by 11 pan to a 9 by 13 pan. There's logic. You can't just wing it. It's just not gonna work. So, there's processes. You're gonna look for a house. Like, yeah, you have to decide how many bedrooms. So, but we're just, as a society, as a world, overly fixated on the logical mind. And this is going to help turn that volume down and turn up the volume of intuition, creativity, going with the flow, being in the moment, which is all the feminine energy, the yin energy. Okay, so the nervousness you actually felt was maybe actually a little bit of excitement too, because the part of you that is connected with your higher self is like, fuck yes, let's do it. So they're like, if you check back in with that initial feeling, you might notice that you actually feel excited.
Yeah.
Because
no, that's accurate. Yeah.
like part of you knows deep down, the part we always talk about, your whisper talks, knows deep down, like that this is the right train to be on. This is the right path at this time. And so many more people are going to be, and it does tie into what we were talking about for the January video. We did these videos in reverse. We did these podcasts in reverse. It does tie into that, what we talked about for January, in that, fuck, I cannot remember what I was going to say. I just totally went blank. What were we talking about? Hold on. So it ties into the January energy. It's basically, it's going to start in January where it's just what you said. It's like people are kind of going to stop being led by their Instagram algorithm, and they're going to start making more conscious choices. And it's because their higher selves are kind of behind them. I can visually kind of see they're giving that representation of like someone just behind you, kind of like just pushing you along, almost like you would if you were like helping a kid on a bicycle. I mean, maybe a tricycle. Like you're kind of pushing them along in the tricycle, knowing they're not going to fall over, but you're trying to get them going. It's like that. Just this kind of overall like openness and acceptance that part of you that's not just human is like stepping more and more into a role in your life.
Yeah. The realization that this life, even though it is very physically oriented, is way bigger than that.
Okay. So What were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna say like, oh, this is fun. 20. I can't believe I'm about to say this, and I hope I don't jinx it, but I'm excited about 2026.
Oh,
I feel
God.
like I might have said that about 2025.
Um,
No, I know
yeah,
I didn't say it about 2025. What am I saying?
no. Okay, so let's address the people out there that are like, um, y'all are insane. This world is fucked.
Mm.
Kind of like that meme we saw, which is seems like America's in this point where the mall is starting to go out of business. Like it's closing down or something. I don't know. It's kind of funny. So how do we address the people that are like, oh hell no, this is a nightmare? What do the higher selves have to say about that?
Well, the first thing they said is that, yeah, that's totally your choice. You can look at this however you want. Um, the only way, though, that we shift this trajectory that we're on to be out of business is that there has to be a collection of individuals that choose to observe it differently, show up differently, and create differently. So maybe you're not on the scout team. Maybe you're holding down the fort while we scope a new spot for the mall, which is fine. That's great. Like somebody's got to make sure that the store stays open, the old store stays open while the new store gets constructed. And that's what this excitement energy is geared towards, is the people who are willing to be like, yeah, that was a dumpster fire. Totally. It's still on fire, but like, I'm going to stop looking at the fire and I'm going to figure out what's next.
And that lines up perfectly with the Jack of Spades, revolutionary Uranus Aquarius energy.
Nice.
Yeah. Um, right. And maybe your role is like not to worry too much about the future. Maybe your role is staying in the present or processing some of the negative energy. I mean, I think that's definitely a role people take on. I know I do sometimes through my bowels.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, or also to uh like sort of be that, I don't want to say lifeline, but that connection point for those of us that are choosing not to engage in it anymore, to be that that like voice of like, okay, so like the dumpster's still on fire over here, like it's need you to know like it's still on fire, and be like, oh yeah, right, I need to work faster, or like I need to dream bigger.
yeah.
So like we don't have to keep looking at it to know that it's on fire, because some of you are going to be telling us this is what's happening, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
thank you for your service, thank you for looking at it and holding that space so that we don't have to.
And I think like I still do. I look, but
Same.
I also am like, I'll see a headline and I'll just be like, no, moving on. Just no.
I'll be like,
I'm
that
not
it's ridiculous,
I'm not giving
whatever.
my energy to that. No. Um, yeah, I do. I think it's really hard to see the potential future when things are like this, so it's so chaotic. But I have talked to so many people at the end of the year about the feeling of like even the holidays and how different it feels this year. And I mean, we had that
Mm-hmm.
whole conversation that one day about like dreading the holidays, but then you see the lights and like the trees and the Christmas tree is so pretty outside and there's lights everywhere. And so then there's like some excitement to it. And then people are like not really, I was just talking to someone today, they're not really pulling their plans together very well with their family. They're like, no one's like reached out. It's the 22nd. We're recording this early and no one's made any plans. And so there's this energy. It's already, what I'm trying to say is it's already starting. The inability to just do the same thing we do every year. I mean, obviously that kind of stuff started back with the pandemic when we had to start changing how we do things. But it's like for there was a hot minute there where I thought, oh, we're going back to normal. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2023, 2024. I'm like, oh, things are going quote unquote back to normal. But now we're here at 2025, it's the end of the year, and people are like, we're just not going to do it that way. We're not buying as much shit. My mom
Yeah,
didn't
that
buy
is
much for Christmas, which is like shocking.
right.
Yeah. I mean, just stuff like that. People are just making these choices like, I can't do this anymore.
There's
And
not
that,
normal
no,
anymore.
no. And so breaking free from that is also the definition of the Jack of Spades. It's like if there's a card, if you were going to draw a card or pick a card out of the deck based on all their definitions and what they mean, and you were going to say, what is the card of revolution and change? It is the Jack of Spades. And the spades means the physical world. So seeing the change on the material and physical world is what is like, not that we haven't been seeing change, but it's like I think I think that's too kind of like we're feeling into this positive energy, but it's also like it's still change. There's still going to be change, and that is really uncomfortable for people. And so I think that is a hard thing. Could be a hard thing for some of the listeners out there that we're still on this trajectory of massive shifting and changing.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything they want to say about like we don't really do predictions, but Candy and I did in 2019 have this feeling that something big was coming in 2020 that was going to affect every single person in the world. And we were like, is the Pope going to die? Is there an earthquake? Like, wouldn't affect everyone? Wouldn't it? We could not figure it out.
Yeah.
We could not figure it out. We did not jump to being a pandemic.
Pandemic never crossed our minds.
Did not. So stupid. Anyway, so like, I guess my question is kind of like based on the changes that have been happening, not just in the United States, but in the world, because there's a lot of stuff going on in different parts of the world. And this like concept of the Jack of Spades is the card of the year, and that means transformation and change. Like, what can they say about the idea that change is on the menu still next year?
Well, they kept dropping this in while you were talking, and so I was asking them, like, is that still relevant? And they're like, yeah, say it now.
Say it now.
Say it now. Go now. Boop, say it now. So this concept of like moving into this sort of a higher octave of frequency that for some will feel amazing and really energizing and really positive. And for a lot of us, that'll be kind of the energy behind it, but they're just like, it doesn't mean that the whole year is going to feel amazing because there's still a recalibration that has to happen. There's an integration that has to happen. There's an acceptance that has to happen. There's a grief for what was that has to happen. So what they flashed me is like, yeah, there's probably going to be a war with Venezuela. Ooh.
Okay, cool.
Don't worry, it's not going to last long, but that's going to seem like a really negative thing. And then at the same time, we're going to be like, oh, how can I feel positive about the path forward when this negative thing is now on the radar that wasn't even on the radar before? Like it's actually happening and it wasn't on the radar before. So there's going to be moments where things just feel upside down. Like they feel backwards and it feels like we're moving in the wrong direction. But all of these little things are part of the forward momentum and the forward movement. So 2026 might not always feel great. The energy behind it is so much better than 2025. And so we're each going to have to just like find our own way to keep coming back to that, whether it's, bookmarking this podcast or
listen to this once a month
or printing something out as a reminder or writing on your bathroom mirror, like something positive to keep anchoring you, because it is going to, the ride, like they wanted to be really careful because they don't want to undermine like how excited they got us about the potential. They don't want to like pull us back down into the whoa, whoa, whoa. It really is up to each of us to make the daily decision. Do I want to get sucked into it? Yeah. Do I want to get sucked into it? Do I want to rise above it? Do I want to focus my energies on what I know I should be doing or what I know I'm here to do? And that's going to be an individual, personalized daily choice.
Right. And I think it's just reminding me of Carl Johann Kalemann's book, The 9 Waves of Creation, which is so interesting. It's about the Mayan calendar, and it's about the 9 waves coming from the creative heart, or the the Mayans believe that the 9 waves of creation coming from the creative heart. They're all here. All 9 waves are here. They all carry codes of information. And then you can kind of see like when the pyramids were built, there was like at the same time, which is insane. At the end of that book, he's like, great, so now what do you do? And he just has 4 suggestions. And one of them is like, get involved locally. Call your legislators if you want to, however you want to get involved. And to me, it's like when I see some of the news headlines, I'm like, it's fine to know about that. What am I going to do about that particular thing? I can do nothing about it. So
Right.
what can I do? What action can I take? Because action does really help kind of move the energy, clear the energy. And this, I've heard this from maybe astrologers or something. And I think the Aquarius thing, actually, the idea that the Jack of Spades is like an example of the Aquarian age coming forward, that is very much about community. So what can you do if you're feeling really frustrated and stressed out about this stuff? Like, focusing on that is not helping you or anyone. Knowing about everything. I'm a club. I'm going to tell you, clubs. Knowing about every single fucking thing that's happening is not helping. So, like, what actions can you take to improve the world that you're in, or the people's lives that you're in, or whatever? And that's going to make you feel so much better. Okay, I have another question.
Wait, before you ask that question, it's funny that you brought that up as a club, because as a diamond, here's what I have on my refrigerator. I think Lee Harris might have said this in his either August or September energy. I can't remember which one, but it struck me and I wrote it down and I put it on my refrigerator so I could see it. It says, "What am I willing to allow into my life?" Same concept. Like,
Yeah.
what do I value? My time is worth something. Is this matching the value?
Well, and something we also talk about in the January video when we do the breakdown of the card for each suit is your energy, like mental energy is energy. It's not just physical energy. When you feel exhausted, you might be burning too much mental energy going over stuff like this. You might be wearing yourself out through overthinking or through spending too much time in the weeds on Instagram or whatever. So that is like, if you go back to that question Candy just asked, what am I willing to put my energy into? That you can stop yourself and be like, is this worth me putting my energy into right now? Is like seeing all these news headlines, keeping track of everything that's happening. Is that really going to help?
Yeah.
What can you do about that? Okay. Here's my question. Are we ready? April 17th, 2026, 7 planets will be in Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. We have Saturn and Neptune conjunct, which happens like, I think every 14 years or so. But they're conjunct Aries 0 degrees. So the first degree of the zodiac, February 10th. And then by April, when like we have other things that are normally in Aries around that time, there's 7 total planets. That's a lot in Aries. So talk about a restart. Do they have anything to say about that?
They're just like fire. Like just this is
great. Burn it all down.
Exactly. This is when it's probably going to be peak overload for the year. It's going to happen early. Going to get it out of the way, which is important because that's going to be the point where everybody collectively is just like, no.
We're not doing this anymore. Please stop.
No, you pushed this too far. Hard pass. No. Collective redirection. So, yeah, just, work at the beginning part of the year to get yourself set up for success. Like, it's going to be really important to develop your habits, to clean out your own closets, to figure out what your personal sustainability practices are. That is an interesting phrasing.
You mean for the planet or for your own energy?
For your own energy.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you're going to want to have those practices set in motion so that when we get to April, you're not completely caught off guard. It doesn't feel like the rug got pulled out from underneath you, or you're just spent. You're at zero. It's like if you're on a road trip and you don't know where the next gas stations are, you work really hard to maybe keep your car at half a tank because you just don't know how far you're going to have to go. So this is the same thing. Like at the beginning of the year, like the first quarter of the year, you're going to need to make sure that that tank is full, or at a minimum at a half a tank.
Okay.
Don't go into April on empty. There will not be gas. There will not be a gas station open in April.
Oh boy. Okay. That's crazy.
That is crazy, especially if we were to go to war with Venezuela, it would have to be around oil.
Oh, that's a good point.
So the whole gas station analogy is ironic, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see what happens.
Oh God.
I mean, I don't want that to happen, but.
Well, I mean, plan B, get off of oil. How do we do that? Stop using plastic. Bring your grocery bags to the store, stuff like that. So actual sustainability.
Right. Real stuff.
Yeah. Real stuff. Is there anything else we need to talk about for 2026, or is that it?
Yeah, they don't like to end on what might feel like a negative note, so they're like they're doing this with my like hand underneath the chin, like keep the chin up. It's all going to be okay. This is 2026 is going to overall feel so much lighter, so much better than 2025 did. There might be a few dust ups here and there, but for the most part, this is just going to be different. Okay. It's not going to be quiet. It's not going to be
peaceful.
Right. Like you're not walking into, the Plaza Hotel here yet, but yeah, it's going to feel better. You're going to feel better.
Okay. That's exciting. I like that. I hope so. Have the ability to take better care of ourselves. Feels like. Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, check out all the links below this video. Check out our January 13th Claim Your Crown 2026 series with breathwork and setting up your year, tuning into what your soul wants for the year. That's what we're doing. We're really excited about it. It's our first inaugural one of these, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
That wraps this episode of One Card Shy. Did you love it? Leave us a review, share it with your friends, and sign up for our monthly crown straightener. Bonus, you'll get our free Claim Your Crown guide when you subscribe.
And be sure to find us on Instagram and check out our website. Both are rainworld.co. All the links are below. See you next time, Queens.